Hey everybody, and welcome back in for another episode of SwissCheeseBeats. This is episode 10. However, before we jump into the material today, I'd really like to thank everybody who participated in my very first giveaway. A lot of great feedback, a lot of great video ideas, so I'll definitely be taking those into consideration as I plan more videos here in the future and get you guys exactly what you're asking for. Big congratulations to Miss Sandra Tovar, who was the winner of the giveaway. She went ahead and selected the brand new Innovative Percussion Practice Pad, as well as a pair of Innovative Percussion PR2 marching snare drum sticks. We'll be doing another giveaway soon. I'm not sure exactly when, but make sure you're on the lookout for that here in the near future. Today we're going to be jumping into the Region 12 Middle School All-Region Snare Drum Etude. The Etude comes out of Mitchell Peters' Intermediate Snare Drum Studies book. That, along with his Advanced Snare Drum Studies books, are both really great to have in your percussion library, especially for those of you that are looking for college audition rep or even audition rep as you make the jump from middle school to high school. If you don't have these two books as part of your library, I highly recommend you pick them up. Go ahead and grab those. There are two links left for you down below, one for the intermediate book and one for the advanced book. Before we get in the Etude, there's a couple of things I'd like to cover. The first one's a little bit of a disclaimer, and that really is that if you're watching this and you're a student and you study with a private lesson teacher and you're preparing for this audition, please remember that your lesson teacher is going to know the practice plan and approach that best fits your needs as a student. Now, with that being said, this is here for help. This is here for a reference. Not everybody has access to a private lesson teacher, and not everybody has band directors that are more fluent in percussion studies. So with that in mind, again, if you're taking privately, please make sure you listen to your private lesson teacher, as they're going to help you to the best of their ability to get you prepared as well as possible for your audition. However, for those of you that do not study privately, I hope you find these videos as a great reference and a great learning tool for you to help you on your way to your audition. So now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the second thing I want to cover before getting into the Etude, which are just some practice tips that I highly recommend for all students as they're learning any form of music. Whether it's something like this if you have an actual audition, or you're just trying to simply get better in a more efficient manner. I'm going to give you 5 different practice tips that are going to help you on your way to becoming better faster. The first one is, I highly recommend that you always practice with music in front of you. Many times I'll see students kind of just going through the motions, however they think they're actually practicing. Well, if there's not a music reference in front of you of what it is that you're working on, then I wouldn't say that counts as highly effective practice as possible. By having the music in front of you as a reference, it's going to help you make sure that everything you're working on is exactly correct as written in the music. The second and third tip that I would recommend when practicing is really a 1B and a 1C, and that is that you use the same copy of music every time you practice, and lastly, that you use a pencil to make notes when you're practicing. A lot of times, again, I'll see students use a pen to make a notation on a piece of music, and then the next day they'll make another notation, except it'll be on a different copy of the music. So as they progress further into learning the piece of music, they end up having 5 or 6 different copies of music, all with different notes on them, some of them in pen as well. So use the same copy of music, use a pencil. That way, if you change your mind on a note, or perhaps you have a lesson teacher who's looking over what you're playing, and you guys decide together that you want to take a different approach, you can easily erase the notes you've made and make a new note on the same copy of music. The fourth tip I recommend is to use a metronome. Now, I hate to use the term always for anything, but I'm definitely going to use a metronome much more than I don't. I know that some people will think that using a metronome becomes a crutch, and sure, it can be if you always use a metronome 100% of the time, but for me, honestly, I would say to use a metronome about 90% of the time. Rhythms are right or wrong. There's no gray area with rhythms. And so always remember that if you play the wrong note in the right place, while that's still not correct, it's always going to be better than playing the right note in the wrong place. There are so many ways to get your hands on a metronome, whether it be on your phone or whether it be a pocket metronome. So what I've done for you is listed 3 types of metronomes down below, one for your phone, one is a pocket metronome, and one's going to be more of a full-fledged professional type metronome. These 3 metronomes are currently the 3 that I use the most. I'm not really going to get into the differences of each one or why I like one more so than another in its category. I'm just going to leave those there for you. Check them out. Again, if you don't have a met, pick one up. And the final practice tip I'm going to give you is that you really should consider recording yourself. Recording yourself really allows you to be fully immersed in the performance aspect of your practice. Then what it allows you to do is to go back and listen or watch your recording, and then you can be fully immersed in the evaluation aspect of your practice. It's really, really critical that you do this because it's going to allow you to be more efficient than someone who doesn't record themselves. Now, onto the Etude. We're looking at Etude 17 out of the Mitchell Peters Intermediate Snare Drum Studies book. The Etude is written in a 5/4 time signature, meaning there will be 5 beats per measure, and each beat gets a quarter note value. All of the rolls in the piece are going to be a buzz roll, however, they are notated in 2 different ways. The first one is a buzz roll with a release. You'll see the buzz roll notated, in this case, we'll say by a quarter note, and it's tied to another quarter note. What you're going to do is you're going to play that buzz roll and give it a tap release at the end. Where it differs from the second type of buzz roll is that this buzz roll is also notated by a quarter note, but it is immediately followed by a quarter note rest, meaning you're going to execute the buzz roll, except the last stroke that is a buzz within the beat will be your actual release. There isn't any sticking written in the music, however, I usually just try to stick to natural stickings unless I find something that's a little bit awkward, or I maybe want to use a special sticking that's going to allow me to be a little more consistent with my playing. So find the stickings that are going to work best for you to allow you to make this Etude sound as great as possible. There are a couple of spots in the Etude that I recommend you looking over. Not that it's anything too difficult, but it can become a little bit awkward. The first spot's going to be measure 7 to the downbeat of measure 9. Measure 7 has 2 buzz rolls, both of which start on the upbeat. It's very important that you do not rush the 8th note rest on the downbeat preceding the buzz roll start. The second buzz roll is a dotted quarter note with a quarter note release, which is immediately followed by a quarter note rest. So you're gonna have to be very patient at the end of that buzz roll to give that quarter note full value, as well as give the quarter note rest full value. Then when you finish this measure with a quarter note on count 5, immediately on count 1 of measure 9, you go straight to the piano dynamic. So here's measure 7 to the downbeat of measure 9, that way you can see and hear exactly what I mean. The second spot that's a little bit awkward is going to be measure 17 to the downbeat of measure 21. These 4 measures have a lot of over the beat or over the bar line rhythms that can become a little bit confusing or make it a little difficult to hear one clearly, especially being that you're playing in a 5/4 time signature. This 4-bar phrase is full of rolls that are a count and a half, a count, or even a half count long. So it's very important that you feel very comfortable with these over the bar line or over the beat rhythms in order for you to execute them consistently, as well as, just like measure 9, here at the downbeat of measure 21, you're gonna have to immediately be ready to play at a piano volume. So here's measure 17 to the downbeat of measure 21. One very simple rhythm here that I think will be a trap for many people is the dotted 8/16 rhythm. It's very easy to play this rhythm where it sounds like a broken triplet where you play one lead. So you want to make sure that every time you play this rhythm, you're subdividing 16th notes in your head so you can be very deliberate with the rhythm 1-ah. So like I said, nothing too tricky, however, it could be a very easy trap for some people to fall into. So what I've done is I recorded this Etude at 3 different tempos, the first one being 80 beats a minute, second one being 100 beats a minute, and the last one being a performance tempo of 120 beats a minute. I did record all 3 takes with a metronome, that way you can hear clearly how every rhythm is supposed to fit in the beat. One thing to be aware of is that I do play the buzz rolls of this Etude at a 16th note pulse. Meaning if it's a quarter note buzz roll, I'm going to play the rhythm 1E and each with a buzz articulation on each note. So at the slower tempos, the buzz roll may sound a little bit disconnected, but that's nothing to be concerned about. You want to make sure that everything you practice at a slower tempo is exactly how you're going to perform it at performance tempo. So once again, it may sound a little disconnected, but really be listening for the 16th note pulse I play and keep that consistent through all 3 tempos. So here's Etude number 17 of the Peters Intermediate Snare Drum Studies book, performed at 3 tempos for you. In the comment section below, I'd really like to open this up to both teachers and students. Teachers, if you've performed this etude or you've taught this etude, or you see something that I've missed that you think will help students, please leave that down in the comment section below. Students, if you're having an issue with anything in the etude, or maybe you have a question that I didn't answer for you, again, please leave that down below. We'll be sure to chime in and help everybody out. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up down below. If you have yet to do so, please consider subscribing. We're gonna get back to some rudimental drumming here, so be on the lookout for that. Once again, thank you everybody for watching. I very much appreciate your support. All the best to you guys, and until the next video, I will see you next time.